on the political battles we have to look forward to in the next new year. I am joined by Kate Nocera of BuzzFeed, Republican strategist Chip Saltzman, and Democratic strategist Robert Zimmerman, who joins us here in the studio. Thanks to all of you for being here today.
Good to be with you.
Kate, ladies first, we hear from both sides of the aisle that we need to stop legislating from crisis to crisis. And yet, despite this bipartisan deal, isn't that exactly what we're going to do in the new year?
Well, it's not exactly what we're going to do in the new year. What the budget did was it set top-line numbers so the appropriations committees in both the Senate and the House could come up with the details. Now, what has been the problem for the last 2 or 3 years has been that no one can seem to agree on what exactly they want to put in the budget. Chairman Hal Rogers has said they've been making progress, as has Chairwoman Barbara Mikulski. But whether or not they can come up with a full agreement by January 15th, it's yet to be seen.
Chip, just before leaving for the break, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had this to say about a debt ceiling deal. Let's listen.
I doubt if the House, or for that matter the Senate, is willing to give the president a clean debt ceiling increase. I can't imagine it being done clean. We'll have to see what the House insists on adding it as a condition for passing it.
Well, not having a government shutdown is great, but isn't the threat of a default far more critical to our economic stability?
Well, I think one of the things that the budget deal did was give us a little bit of stability going into the new year, and I think that's going to help. Obviously, the stock market, as you can see, has reacted nicely to it. But as we go into this debt ceiling deal, I think what the Republicans are going to say is, we'll give you an increase in the debt ceiling if we can get cuts dollar for dollar. And I think that's what the Republicans are going to try for. But I don't think you want, the Republicans do not want to fight where they have another government shutdown. So I think it's going to be cautious. It's New Year's Eve, so I'm going to remain optimistic that they're going to get a deal. But it's going to be marginal gains, but I think ultimately they're going to get a deal fairly quickly in the new year.
Oh, it brings back memories of last New Year's Eve, Robert, which was the fiscal cliff, and we were on for hours as they decided. Do you remember that? Very last minute. Remember that, everybody? Well, Robert, the president's stance during the government shutdown is that he was not willing to negotiate under threat, right? And it seems to have paid off, but his approval rating took a dive. Will the same stance work with the debt ceiling debate?
I think it even works more effectively there, because the idea of defaulting on the full faith and credit of the United States is just not acceptable to the broad range of the American people. And even though Chip has an optimistic view, and I tend to be optimistic, especially on New Year's Eve, we all wake up the next morning with the reality that there are still many Republicans in the Senate, like Ted Cruz, like Rand Paul, like Richard Burr, who don't believe that defaulting on our debt is really bad for the economy, is going to hurt us dramatically. And they've made these statements publicly. So as long as you have leadership in the Republican Party that's still defending the idea that we can default on our debt and we can hold back on it or negotiate about it, then we're going to face certain risks, not just to our own budgetary process, but also to the world economy and our own national economy. Well, we saw what happened last time to the stock market while the Republicans were debating the merits of raising the debt ceiling or not. So it's a very defining issue in terms of how the Republican Party wants to move forward and whether they want to be a national party.
Well, I want to let Chip respond to that.
Well, I think real simple. I think what Republicans are saying is the biggest problem we've got facing our economy is a $17 trillion debt. And I think given a blank check to the federal government, we've seen time and time again, not just Democrats but Republicans, they blow through that without getting spending cuts. And I think what you'd like to see a lot of Republicans say, let's get the spending cuts first, then get your debt ceiling increase, and then get this under control.
The debt ceiling is about
paying... We say this every cycle, Robert. I hear you, but we say this every time we start this debate.
That already accumulated. It's
at what point do you say stop, Robert? At what point do you say stop spending? I agree, we pay our bills. We, as a country, we're going to pay our bills. But at what point do we say stop? And we go after those spending cuts first. We don't just always get a new credit card. And nothing could be more raising that credit card.
That type of thinking could be so destructive to our economic progress that we're making. The idea
So, Robert, let me ask you a question. Is $17 trillion enough? Is $20 trillion enough? Is $25 trillion enough?
Are you ignoring the fact,
when does the debt get so intrusive that the economy can't grow? I mean,
Chip, my New Year's wish for you is to get new talking points, because those talking points are about 4 years old. Let's remember
those talking
the debt
points
is
are what's important to this economy.
If I can finish
Robert, I'm asking you a simple question. What's the limit for you for our debt ceiling?
No,
is it 20
the
trillion?
bigger question is this: is our debt coming down? It is. Is our economy recovering? It is. Obviously,
we still
want to bring
our deficit
down, but we have to
$680 billion deficit this cycle. Absolutely, Robert.
May I finish my point? The only way we bring our debt down and our deficit down is by growing our economy. That's the test of our economic progress. And that's what we're seeing now in the administration. That's what we're seeing right now in our country. And the idea of jeopardizing our recovery by defaulting on our debt, which many of the leading Republicans in the Senate are advocating, is so irresponsible that ultimately I think the country's going to reject it like they did the government.
Well, gentlemen, we do want to move on to another subject here. Kate, we can't say that 2013 is going down without a...
No, exactly.
I was just going to the midnight hour.
I just wanted to say that, I mean, part of the issue with the debt ceiling is a lot of Republicans cannot agree on what exactly they want to ask for. And so, I mean, there's a whole slew of things Republicans would like to see in exchange for raising the debt ceiling. That includes the Keystone Pipeline, that includes repeal of certain parts of Obamacare. So they all need to get on the same page before they go asking for something in exchange for raising the debt limit.
Okay, let's move on to Hillary Clinton. Recently, she said in an interview that she will make her decision about 2016 sometime this year. So, Kate, do you expect an announcement as well, or do you think she's going to try to put this off as long as possible?
I don't see how she can put it off for a very long time. It is only 2014, but she's going to need time to gear up. I mean, her infrastructure already is there. It's there waiting for her, and there are people on the Hill who have spoken out loudly saying, you know, we'll be ready to endorse her as soon as she decides to run. So I think she has some more time than others would in terms of getting things in place, because so much of her infrastructure already exists.
Robert, if she does announce that she's getting into a race, do you see that she'll have a challenger, or do you think that's going to be a closed, behind closed doors sort of a conversation?
We're Democrats. We couldn't do closed doors if we wanted to. We're not that organized. But the reality is, obviously, you've got to assume there'll be several challenges out there without question. That's just the way the process works. But what I've noticed, though, watching her and her speaking tour, watching the response she's getting, it really is transformational. The response that Hillary Clinton's getting amongst young people, young men and women, shows that she is reaching a whole broad new generation of people with her message. And so I think if she chooses to run, and I think we'll know that after the midterm elections realistically, I would be surprised if she declared beforehand. I think you'll see a consensus for her that really is almost unprecedented.
Interesting. Chip, I'll leave the final word to you. Also see an announcement this year from the other side of the aisle, maybe Ted Cruz, maybe Rand Paul or Chris Christie?
Yeah, I think what you're going to see is everybody work hard for the midterm, electing Republicans, trying to get control of the Senate. I think you're going to start seeing fairly soon after the 2014 mid-cycle a lot of announcements. And unlike the Democrat side, I think we'll have as many as 10 or 12 people ultimately be on that stage during that first debate. So we're going to have a lot of people to look over, and it's going to be a fun cycle for everybody.
Kate, any predictions for 2014?
I've learned to predict nothing. So.
Smart woman. Smart woman. Anybody else, real quick?
I'll predict that most of the predictions that we see tomorrow will end up being wrong.
I'm predicting the Democrats hold on to the Senate.
All right, there we go. Kate Nocera, Robert Zimmerman, and Chip Saltzman, thank you, and Happy New Year to all of you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.